Hi, my name is Ashley Ruiz, and today from Connections for Abused Women and Their Children, and today we are with our guest, Michelle Montoya. She's a legal advocate at Connections for Abused Women and Their Children. We will be talking about orders of protection. You're watching Hotline 21, a live interaction show on CAN TV 21. And Michelle.
Hi, so my name is Michelle. I'm the court advocate at Connections for Abused Women and Children. So my role there is to help women obtain orders of protection. Along with that, it's kind of also basically any legal help that they might need. I help them get connected with agencies and help them through the whole court process of that.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit more about what is an order of protection?
So an order of protection is a court-signed document that helps to ensure a victim of abuse her safety. So with an order of protection, there's different remedies such as exclusive possession of the residence, visitation with children, and obviously the most important one, which is to prevent any further abuse, whether it's emotional, sexual, or physical.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard there is, for example, with the order of protection and also when people want to press criminal charges. Can you tell us a little bit more about when they want to press criminal charges, what do they need, or any information?
Yes. So with orders of protection, there's two different ones. So you can get one through the civil route or the criminal route. Mm-hmm. If you're getting one through the criminal, what you need is, just for starters, a police report. Once you have your police report, you can go to the state's attorney's office and go and see if the incident that occurred is enough to file charges for that. After that, the attorney would speak to you, and then whether or not they decide to follow through the charges, then you'd go up to see the judge and possibly have that abuser arrested for the incident that occurred. And you can also obtain a criminal order protection that way it's also another way to obtain an order of protection.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see. You spoke briefly about your role, and I wanted to ask you a little bit more about how do you feel. I work at the HPOP side as a counselor, right? Mm-hmm. And I know that being at the court, it's different. There's a different role. You are advocating for clients. You're going into court. Can you tell me more about your experience and how you feel? And based on counseling, how do you feel in terms of that? How do you support them when they come in with a crisis and things like that?
Well, when women or men, when they come into court in crisis, we try and find, me and the other court advocate at the agency try and find ways to kind of help them calm down first and give them that space to figure out what their decision is, whether or not they actually want to proceed with an order of protection, and just basically give them their options, tell them more about their rights, and more so find a way to empower them rather than trying to advise them to go either file charges or get the order of protection, because sometimes it might not be the decision that they really want. So kind of just listening to their options and providing support through that and empowerment basis is what we try and do.
Mm-hmm. Right, thank you. I sometimes find that it is difficult when I talk to clients and they want to seek an order of protection. Not always it's that decision that they made right away. Sometimes we get clients who come to us and they tell us they are going through something they want to talk about. They are confused because many of those times they don't know what to do, right? Mm-hmm. And there's those times when they don't know whether they should press criminal charges or if they can make a police report. And can you tell me a little bit more about I heard sometimes when we have to when they come in, they want to make a police report, if there is a timeline or something when they want to press criminal charges, or if there is any other important things that we can note about that in case someone wants to know more about pressing charges or obtaining an order of protection. Do we need do we need a police report for an order of protection or not? So
again with the criminal, you do need a police report for that. To my knowledge, there isn't really like a specific time limit. I've had clients that have gotten police reports from an incident that happened years ago, depending on like the severity of the incident. But definitely for criminal, you do need a police report for that. For civil, it's a little easier to get an order of protection because that's not criminal. So civil is more just your testimony is really what you need. Police reports and evidence such as like photos, text messages, emails, that's really helpful. But it's not necessarily required to get one through the civil route.
I see. You're watching Hotline 21, Live Can TV 21, and if you have any questions, please feel free to call us on the number that's on the camera, and here it's also our information, our CAWC hotline number and website if you want to look into more information. And Michelle, thank you for that again. And I often get those when clients, how do you work with them in terms of like for how long does it take? I know that they go to court, they can get an emergency order of protection, and then what happens afterwards? Like, what are some differences you have encountered, some challenges that you think are, I know every case is unique, so not all of the time we see the same thing happening, but what are some challenges or some things that you have learned throughout the time that you've been a legal advocate?
Well, for the court, like when you first come to court to obtain an order of protection, come in mind that it can be a long process. Especially like earlier in the week, it's really busy at court, so it can take all day possibly to get that order of protection. Coming into court, you come and have to fill out paperwork. There's advocates that can assist you from different agencies. You could also reach out to Connection to Abused Women and Children and see if me or the other advocate are also able to assist you to obtain that order of protection. Once you fill out all the paperwork, you go and see the judge that same day, and they grant you, if the emergency order of protection is granted, you're protected for 3 weeks, and the next 3 weeks you'll have another court date. In that meantime, they're going to try and serve the abuser with that paperwork so that he is aware you're getting an order against him, and then see whether or not he would agree to it or try and dispute it. Definitely one of the challenges is having women or men come back consistently to obtain that order. From the emergency, the main goal is to get a plenary order of protection, which is a long-term 2-year order. And it's not always easy for the sheriffs to be able to serve the abuser right away. So sometimes it may require you to come back to court anywhere from 1 more time to 3-4 more times. And it's just a lot of follow-up appointments. And some clients have found it tedious. So I think that's a big challenge, is just trying to get them to come back. So also, like, my role, like, as an advocate is to try and be that support system for them so that they, come back and they don't get discouraged to the point where they don't come back anymore.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of the challenges, though. Sometimes it makes them feel discouraged when they're constantly returning and they're not seeing any long-term results. So I would say it's definitely one.
Yeah. Thank you. It is. I hear that it's a lot, and many times clients do want to see something quickly, because it's a lot that they've been going through, and having to go through something like this, with dealing with the legal system and trying to get their rights heard and really get their order of protection. And many times, because of their safety, it's a risk, and they want to be able to have that to show that they can do this, or they are trying to protect themselves and their children. And I just wanted to ask, in terms of remedies, or how does it work for the children as well, like if there's children involved, how do you work in that, and whether, for example, you mentioned referring them out. I know that they can get referrals to get, if they want to get a divorce or anything like that. Yeah. Can you tell me more about those things? Yeah,
so for referrals, they can be referred for a civil order of protection. That way, there's different agencies such as Legal Aid Society, Domestic Violence Legal Clinic, that are at the Domestic Violence Courthouse, and they can help represent in civil orders of protection. And it helps when there's children involved, because it makes things a little smoother between the respondent and the petitioner. So they're able to kind of speak on their behalf and try and come to an agreement. In court, there's also a child expediter who can help speak with both the mom and the dad to try and come to an agreement with visitation. So that's also another option. But definitely for once the orders of protection cases are over, and if my client is seeking to get a divorce or do more further parentage at the daily center, referring them to those agencies is something that we try to always do to help them out.
Okay, that's great to hear. And when it comes to the referral, like, are you able to help them hand in hand of like writing the referral, connecting them with the appropriate agencies and that, and are you able to be following up with them, or does your connection or like that with them ends there once they are referred? How does that work?
So for example, like for domestic violence legal clinic, I think we've like grown to have a better relationship with them because I'll write like for example my phone number and my information on there, so they'll give me a call to speak further on the client and see if they have any questions, and I just follow up with them and the client, or I'll just go directly to the office to see what the status of that is, if they're gonna take him or her for representation.
So I hear that your role is not only like at court, like you also go for example, to the agencies and are able to be a support to them. So basically, there is many things going on here, and you working with them together on that, and that's great. I actually, it's hard, like as working as a counselor, hearing clients who have so many questions when they come to us. They have the questions of what it's even an order of protection, how can I protect my kids, or we hear the question of like, or just the statement, I need protection, I need something, I don't know what to do, what are my rights, and explaining that to them. I think that it takes that time of like really getting to explain that they have rights, that they can seek this order of protection and actually get for them to include their children in it. How do you feel about also when it comes to the children? I know it's difficult, and you mentioned about having someone there who is there to get them to see if they can agree on visitations, and that any challenges you have seen there when the children's safety is at risk as well, and that you have seen, I don't know, anything you can...
Whenever the children's safety is at risk, if the judge sees that, most likely they'll never really deny visitation, but what they do is they'll go for supervised visitation, and it'll be very limited, and then they'll do that for a certain period of time, and then from then see how the child and the respondent are doing in a few months, and then maybe make it a little more flexible. But the child expediter is really good for that because she speaks to both and kind of sees what concerns of each parent is and addresses that with each parent. So she's kind of like she's a mediator for both of them to try and come to whatever's in the best interest of the child's safety.
That's good to know, because many times we have those questions
of
like, what happens with my children, or if they are their safety once again is at risk, or the parents are asking, like, they keep on telling me that they are going to take my children away, because that's a lot of the, many times is that concern of like, they have tried to take my kids away if I follow up. And we see that many times clients do take that step back of like not filing charges or even getting a protection because they don't feel safe. They feel that this is going to make things worse. And talking to clients about how this could help them, or like what they want to achieve, because it's their own choice. And you, like you mentioned earlier, many times is that of like, if they are in crisis, they don't know what to do, and we are there to support them and be there for them, to see what they want to do, and also to put their points out there and see where they want to go, what they want to accomplish. And anything else that you think it's important for us to know about orders of protection, or anything that you have been working on with clients besides the orders of protections that you know any information of that you think it's important?
Well, one thing that I think is important is also like, once you obtain your order of protection, I guess like how it's useful to you. So obviously it is to prevent further abuse. Like I said, the remedies can include like removing, for example, the abuser from your home and like having the temporary legal custody of the children. So it's also good as there's two different types of orders that you can get through the civil route. So you can do either no contact at all with that person, or you can do no unlawful contact. So you can still communicate with the respondent, but it just can't be any abusive behavior, any abusive talk, and that's with both the children and with the petitioner. So one of the good things with that is that you can, once the individual is served with the paperwork for the order, they can also start making police reports for any violations. So if the person doesn't respect the order and continues to harass you or make threats or any type of stalking behavior, you can make police reports for that, and it can also become a criminal order through that as well if you file charges for any violations.
Okay. So it is, from what I'm hearing, is that every time if they violate the order of protection, you can file a police report. And do they have a timeline for that? Do you know whether it's like if it happened within a week they have to do it, or if it happened because sometimes what I hear, like I have heard clients state like I got a text message with a threat, but I was hesitant to file a police report. Can I do it now, like after 2 weeks or
I mean, that's what's be like a good time frame to file a police report. The only thing is, like, it is always better the sooner you can do it, the better, because with the state's attorney, sometimes they might not see the emergency in it, or they're going to be like, why did it take so long for you actually to come now? Or what took, they want to see a reasoning for the time gap. So it is always helpful to the individual's case that they come sooner rather than later.
Yeah, because it is, from what I've heard, like, the clients, it's a lot sometimes that being hesitant and wondering about what they can do. And once again, when we come into the children, what can they do? They don't want to make that off in terms of like, this is their parent and we don't want to break that relationship, but at the same time they are concerned about what they can do. And earlier you mentioned about whether if they need the respondent to be out of the house. Do they get any support through getting police officers to go to their homes, or like how do they get that support in terms for their safety?
So for sure, like when the client gets granted like the emergency order, and let's say the judge approves that the respondent gets removed from the residence, what I always recommend is to either, if they, for their safety reasons, to go straight to the police station and have that police accompany them to their home, and then that way the respondent will be served right away, and the police will also remove him. Because sometimes I feel like it's not in their best interest if they first go home and then call the police, because the respondent might hear an incident could occur from that. Because you never know how the other individual is going to react once they know that an order of protection was granted against them.
Okay. And so, for example, when they go to the court, are they both at the same time when the respondent gets served? Are they at the same court, like after the order of protection, the emergency order of protection? They are in the same court, right?
Yes.
And how does that play off in terms of like, do they get a lawyer, or is it just legal advocates supporting them?
Well, it's up to both parties. It's been occurrences where after the first court date, I'll refer them to DVLC right away if they feel they need it. Sometimes the respondents will show up to court right away on the first court date with an attorney. But, I mean, once both parties come to court, if the petitioner doesn't feel safe coming in because she knows that he might be there, or vice versa, they can always ask one of the sheriffs to place them in a safe room, which there's safe rooms next to each courtroom, so they can be placed in there until their actual case is called. And once the case is called, the judge doesn't allow them to make any comments directly at one another, so everything's directed at the judge, and they can't be like glancing at them, intimidating them, or anything like that.
Yeah, because that could be also a concern to see that they have to see them there, because there is times when clients really go and leave the abuser, right? Like they have to leave them and go into either a shelter or a safe home where they can stay with their family, and in order for their safety, and they are trying to take that step because it is very difficult. Well, once again, you are here on the Hotline show. on CAN TV 21, and this is our hotline number. And if you have any other information you want to see or you want to contact us, this is the hotline number for Connections for Abused Women and Their Children. It's our 24-hour hotline, and the website it's here too in case you have you want to look through any information. And yes, to contact us. Once again, you are I am Ashley and this is Michelle, and we are talking about orders of protections, more about like legal rights for clients, for survivors and victims of domestic violence. Michelle, in terms of, for example, for clients who have who are in need of, for example, of U visas or any or VAWA, like are those also referrals sent to another agency? Is that correct?
Yes. Like, for example, our agency doesn't offer that, but there's agencies that are specifically for that. Catholic Charities is one. DVLC also does help out with that. So there's different referrals that can be given for that as well.
Mm-hmm. And that comes when we are talking about what is it that they need and all of that. Is there a way we also support them to, like you as a legal advocate? Me, I can tell you that as a counselor, we talk about like the incidents of abuse and then writing a support letter for them coming to counseling or support groups or any of that we have. We do that and we work with them even on like writing what they have gone through, because it's a very difficult process for them. And you as a legal advocate, what can you tell us about how do you support them? Is there specific information that you have you can share with them, or is it a straight referral for them to speak to a lawyer?
Well, for the most part, we usually recommend them to wait to start filing for like the U visa or VAWA, just because it's something that if the respondent finds out it's happened where they try using it against them and saying, for example, they're only finding these criminal charges because they're just using it as a way to get their U visa. So it's like they're trying to use an excuse like they're making everything up. So it's always recommended to wait until that process is finished and then refer them to a lawyer. So we usually just do the direct referral afterwards.
Okay, I see. So it is, because many, there is people who come to us, and then besides that of like need of their protection through time, we know they are eligible for either VAWA or a U visa, and it is very important to them to kind of know. There's been instances when I can tell you that I hear that they don't even know they could qualify for it, and that they don't know any information, and it's that of like they are hesitant because they also have the same concern. What if they think that I'm doing this because the reason why I filed this was because I wanted to get this, when no, it's something that they are eligible for, and we can see that this is supporting them and what something that they benefits that they can have, and helping them there, we being there for them. It's great to know, for them to know also, and for us to let them know what their rights are and what they can do, and follow up with them, being there as a support to them, because that's one of our main roles in terms of being a supportive counselor, legal advocate, being there for them and supporting them. Do you have any other information that you think you will want to share for us?
Just to get in contact, I mean, if you have any questions, because obviously it's like a big decision to make, and it's scary, but obviously like take the appropriate steps to ensure your safety.
Yes. Definitely, it is a safety that we take into consideration, that thinking about even making a safety plan before even following up, because there is steps. There is clients who are ready. There is people who are ready to go and file criminal charges, make a police report, or like get an order of protection. But there is also people who want to take a step at a time and learn more about what they want to do, make a list. If they come to us or they come to a legal advocate, learning about more what their rights are and that. So yes, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Once again, this is Hotline 21 on Ken TV, TV 21. Connections for Abused Women and Their Children. This is our hotline number. Feel free to contact us, and this is our website as well.